All right, we are back. We are back with my man Weaver. So, right where we left off, we're talking about the 8412 community and how people are like, yo, this dude wrote five, but if he made 7,000 TCs, he would have wrote 10. So, what's going through your mind? And were you able to voice your opinion about this, or were you not even like, was it one of those things like, hey, listen, Devil Dog, or were you able to be like, bro, what are we talking about here? Like, go over my timesheet, look at my hours. Like, you see that I'm clearly not procrastinating. Because another thing, like I was about to say before, was, bro, other branches they they have people who do all of the admin. Like, you would just be the dude recruiting, and they got MEPS drivers, they got package drivers, like, and they get to do all the other stuff. So like when you're writing five kids, you got travel time, you got advers, you got package prep, you got all this different stuff going on, and it's like, bro, on top of all of that, like, you want me to keep doing TCs? It's like, bro, I don't have time for that, bro. Like, I have workers I gotta work, and then I have Bumeds I gotta Bumed. So unless my CEO is gonna come and do all my packages, or unless my staff and CIC is doing all my packages, like, what are we talking about? So what was your thought process when they were saying that?
So I didn't see the point of voicing my opinion. It's just going to cause unnecessary turbulence with whatever.
Word.
So I just, tactfully was like, I'm just not going to change how I do things because obviously what I'm doing is working. I knew in my head, I knew at the time, I knew it was good. Like running a five, I was like, oh yeah, at the time, I don't know if the 12th district still does this, but you're supposed to get a NAM if you write a five, which I never got, by the way. I wrote five fives, never got a NAM for one, but you don't do it for the award, right? Um, so from there, I just kept doing me. I would just do my hustle throughout the day and do exactly what you said. I had adverse to do. I mean, I was a recruiter in Reno with us freaking Mets in Sacramento, a freaking state away. We had a 2.5 hour drive to go there, and then 2.5 to come back. And in the wintertime, that shit turned into like a 10-hour round trip. So I was always booked, doing something. So I just kept doing me, and it ended up slowly, very quickly actually. Um, I got no complaints. There was no, why is Sergeant Weaver not making his TCs? Why is Staff Sergeant Weaver not making his TCs? It was to the point where it's like everyone else in the office, like, why aren't they making not really their TCs, but why aren't they getting their appointments? Why aren't they getting workers? And that's when I, stepped in and tried to help. I mean, there was a time that my office was gapped 2 sectors, and man, I tell you, I was freaking running around like a freaking chicken with my head cut off because I took over those 2 sectors, and as a recruiter.
Yeah.
So, and if you ever look at the RS Sacramento like AO, and you look at Reno's AO, you will see that Reno's AO is almost half the size of the entire Sacramento AO. Yeah, the other cities are more populated. That just means for us, we got to drive a shit ton more. So, so yeah, I didn't change how I did things. I just continued my hustle, and
So what was your hustle?
yeah. So at my at my most prime, productivity, I guess you could say, my hustle, well, like I was saying, is I get there in the morning, take care of any admin I need to do. Like when I say that, I mean like all the birds there and all these other like state offices would open like at 8, 8:30. So at that time, I would just knock that out. Send a fax. I knew I'd get it at the end of the day or something. Send out an email. I knew I'd get it at the end of the day. So they can have it on their pocket, and I know I'd get it at some point. From there, shortly after, I would just go to the school. Like, yeah, lunch isn't for another hour, but I'm just gonna go. I normally, and this is the guy that, if he freaking watches this, the guy that replaced me, I introduced him to all my connections at every one of my schools. So I would go, just chat it up with one of those connections and ask him how everything's going, ask him if they can, hook me up with anything. Like one of them gave me like a freaking stack of ASVAB freaking test scores, you know, um, and just do that for a little bit until lunch started. And then from there, I would get my pulleys with me. We would go talk to other kids, their friends, and then toward the end of lunch, And this is like for all those recruiters out there, this is like what I freaking did to make me successful as hell. During lunch, I would go to the freaking history teacher or go to the freaking English teacher because those are the two freaking core subjects that more often than not, when you go to a senior class, there's only freaking seniors in it. I mean, unless you have a super advanced junior, they would be in the senior English class, but more often than not, is all seniors. So I would go in there, talk to a teacher, and these teachers do a lot for they deal with a lot too. Like being a high school teacher, that's freaking I don't think I could do that. But I would just talk to them, build rapport, do the thing that we're taught, and then just the give take, right? You talk to them, ask them if they want any help, ask them if they want like a freaking go there with a gift card, go there with something just to not act come off like you're just freaking trying to take crap from them.
Yeah.
And then you go in with the freaking how would you like it if I freaking did a talk in your class? You know? How would you like it if you just, went to the break room, graded some assignments for a day, and I'll just take the period and, just talk about the Marines. Not very many kids are going to join, but it's an option for them. If you'd be okay with it, just give your spiel nicely. And if you freaking sink it in, that English teacher more than likely knows the other freaking senior history or English teacher and just start creeping in like that, start infiltrating like that. And that is what freaking helped me. I was talking to, man, I would go through freaking 2 weeks straight talking to like freaking 300 seniors. And now you have a freaking warm lead because of a freaking survey that they filled out with their number. And I kind of make the questions in a way where you can basically have them pack themselves out. And you take that fat stack to your freaking office. There you freaking go. Make 5 TCs in a day, make 2 appointments. Your boss gets mad at you because you made 5 TCs and you're going to write freaking 4 bones that month, you know? And that's how I did it. And then from there, that kid that you enlist knows a friend. And that friend knows a friend. And you tell them, hey, man, you get one to join under you. I'll get you the second one. You'll be promoted. And we can go on to your friend too to help them out. And boom, 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 boom. And that's how I started doing my thing. And not to mention your freaking your EPPCs, your OT. That's just more sprinkles on top. And that is, I would say, in a nutshell, how I freaking wrote, like I said, 5 5s, a 6, a 8, 4s, like, and never once wrote a 0. Is because of that. Finding your own hustle,
Yeah.
um, and never stopping. I made that mistake one time where, like I was telling you, I wrote that 4 my second month there. I was like, hell yeah, I'm freaking good. And then I wrote a 3, and I was like, man, I'm freaking good. And I wrote a 1, and barely. And I wrote a 1 again, and that was barely 2. And I was like, why is this happening? It's because I let off that pedal, you know? So I freaking slammed back on it, wrote a 6 the next month, and just continued on being consistent from there. So
now,
that's it.
one of the things I want to ask is definitely, from what I'm hearing, is that a lot of it had to do with the pool, the care, and the follow-up process. Because a lot of times we don't get the referrals because we don't have relationships with the kids.
Yeah.
We kiss and ship them. We promise them we're going to do this, and the third. We don't have good pool care, so we don't get good pool referrals. We don't look at the pool referral. We don't look at all the other things that are supposed to aid in the recruiting process. So what advice would you have for that? What advice would you have for that pool care, and getting those pool referrals and even those command recruiting referrals?
Yeah. So first thing I would say is don't enlist and forget your kids. Like that is the most selfish thing that anyone can do, right? Because in my opinion, like I know like I recruited a lot of kids, but I still remember every single one of them. I remember every single one of them. Like my first one, James Kelly. I remember him. Fucking his middle name was Thor. I thought that was kind of weird, but you know, I remember the first contract, infantry. That's what he wanted. Broke his ankle like in freaking ITB, but whatever. um, treat them as if they're your junior Marines because maybe they might be. You know, um, have I mean, pool care is the name, but have genuine care for this human that's life you're about to change, right? Um, don't enlist them and then forget because you in the back of your mind, you know you got to write the next one, right? But there's enough time in the world to freaking put time to give attention to that pool, the pulley, because you never know. If you just freaking enlist them and forget about them, and then like a week goes by and you haven't talked to them, they're probably gonna have some like the buyer's remorse. Like, what the hell did I do? Like, I just enlisted and then he doesn't talk to me anymore, you know? So care about your poolies, have a appropriate professional relationship with them, and they will take care of you. It's the BLT. Believe, like, trust, right? Have your freaking poolies believe you when you talk, because they will catch it real quick if they, sense that you're blowing smoke up their ass. The like part, you go light on that if you need to. You don't need to have them like you, but trust is the most important thing. If they trust
Right,
you,
man.
they will help you, right? So that's what I would do. As soon as they enlisted, we have this thing where I mean we have a 2.5 hour drive back. So I would try my best. If it's my kid that just joined, I would try and be the one to pick him up. That's thought, 2.5 hour drive back. I could talk to them, you know, and talk to them about what's the next steps, and then if they're at the next PT. If you have the time, go meet their family. Sometimes the family will come pick them up, explain to them, what is going to happen now, and then when you go to the school, if they're senior, go freaking say what's up. If you have enough pull in the school, pull them out of class if it's okay, and be like, hey man, is everything okay? Is everything cool? Bring them lunch. Like do the normal things you would do for a little freaking brother or a little sister. Um, if they're like a grad and they work at some like convenience store or something, go by and swing by and be like, hey man, hey, what's going on? I'm just looking for other guys like you. You got anybody? And just fucking do that, and they'll see like he's a Marine, but he's human. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that's where that BLT comes in. That's how they honestly were giving me referrals and helping me out build my platoon.
Yeah. So what did all that cost you? Like with you writing fives, sixes, sevens, eights, I can only imagine that meant that you weren't home for your wife. Or were you? Like how are you balancing life outside of RSS?
Um, I would say I balanced it probably as best as I could. Um, on recruiting duty, you naturally work long nights, but honestly, I would say that I did not get off many nights later than a lot of my fellow recruiters in the office. A lot of times we got off at the same time. You know, I was just good at doing recruiting. So I could make the time that we had effective. The freaking 12, 14 hours we were there, I was effective with that time. So when freaking 2030 came around and we were chopping off, we were all leaving at the same time. There'd be some nights where some parents work at a warehouse and they get off at 9 p.m. and I got to go do PC with them and not get home till 11. There's some nights like that. But um, my wife being as independent as she is, and being able to basically just hold the fort down at the house, and it kind of just made the foundation for me to just be able to do whatever I want. Even now, like being a division chief where I'm at right now. Um, these Marines, we got to deal with everything that they're going through, and again, still, my wife freaking takes care of everything at the home, at the house, and it allows me to be able to take care of the Marines at the shop. And well, sometimes I honestly don't even feel like sometimes I can have my own problems because I just got to be taking care of a lot of other things, But I would say we handled it well. I mean, the cost that came with recruiting duty, it just you're going to lose time because of the hours of how it is. Um, but I would just say it cost me like intangibly. Just it did stress me a little bit. It did give some anxiety a little bit just because of like getting that freaking phone call in the middle of the night. Like, oh man, when I freaking had my second son born, right? I was like 3 months away from being off the duty, but I was like, this is like one of my last contracts I was gonna enlist. The day my son was born, the freaking day, the guy I was supposed to have on deck, because my son was born 5 weeks early, unexpected, and this kid was supposed to be on deck the next day, and it was the next day, and he calls me, and he says, I'm super nervous. I don't know if I can do this. But I'm like, what the hell? And my son was just born. My son was just born. I'm right there in the hospital, and my son, they were like taking him back. I think they were like, I don't know, checking his vitals and stuff before they brought him back in. And I was like, it's like, man, in one part of me wants to be like, I don't got time for this. I'm sorry, man. You just gotta worry about this later. Sorry. But then the other, like, I don't know what it is. I was just like, I can't do that. So I told my wife, I'm like, you won't believe this, but this kid is like freaking questioning this right now. I got to talk to him. I just got to talk to him. So I talked to them, talked to the kid. He's like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm so nervous. My back hurts. Are they going to find that out? And then I was like, dude, like, we talked about this already. Like, you didn't like go to the hospital. You just sprained it when you were deadlifting. Like, do you feel like you're going to like, they're going to have you duck walk. Can you duck walk? He's like, yeah. I'm like, that's fine. You're going to be okay. Dude, you're overthinking this. And he was overthinking the crap out of it. He was thinking it was some crazy elaborate like freaking Marsoc PT that he was gonna do to join the Marines. And I'm like, dude, these kids you're gonna see probably can't even do half the shit that you're gonna go do. Because he was a baseball player, he was in shape. And he was like, oh, thank you. Sorry, Staff Sergeant Weaver. You made me feel better about this. I was overthinking it, sir. And contract that freaking day, you know? So I don't know what it is. I just, I understand. I mean, I just want them to feel, good about what they're doing, understand that there's something good and the, don't overthink things.
Hmm.
So, um, there's, when you say, what did it cost? I mean, you can honestly say that it costs a little bit of everything to make what I did possible. So,
Yeah, but it sounds like you had a good balance, and it sounds like you had a good spouse to help you balance it. And but it's also the just the mindset that you took going on it. Is that you worked through it, you figured it out, and you made it work. And that's why I try to always kind of say that, like, listen, again, I'm never gonna say that recruiting duty is all sunshine and rainbows. I'm not gonna say that because we would know that's a lie. But the amount of time that you put into the negativity, it creates negativity that you're breeding off. So if I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is say, "Wow, today is gonna suck. Day is gonna suck," and I'm on my 30-minute drive into the office, and then I get to the office, and then I slowly put on my uniform, and then as I'm putting on my uniform, I say, "Today is gonna suck. Today is gonna suck," and then I finally put the uniform on, and then I go to make the first TC, and I get hung up on. I'm gonna say, wow, today's gonna suck. And I keep saying that, then of course it's gonna suck. But if you know it's gonna suck, but you put in every single available effort for it to be the best version of the day that it can be, then it's gonna suck a little less.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, the guys in my office, man, if you talk to any one of them, you got to make the best of where you're at, right? I would make like 10 TCs, wonder why I'm doing this, and I'll just get up, go over there, and tackle one of them. I don't know, just do something just to lighten the mood. Everyone's like making phone calls, and it's like everyone's just like quiet, and it just was depressing. And I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. I'll go over there and just start like punching one of them, fake punching, just to rile them up a little bit, and just lift their spirits because it like was down.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no Marines out there that are just super, and I hate that Marines do this. That they just make a shitty situation shittier because the fact that it's shitty. Like we get it, you know. It's recruiting duty. It's the field. It's we're on a working party, whatever. It's shitty. Why are you gonna point out the fact that it's crappy and we gotta go through this crappy time? Like, how about we just get together, work hard together, make the mission, and get on with our lives? We can make mission by mission day or earlier, and we can freaking get off early on Friday. Stop making excuses, man. Like,
And I think a part of it too is that Marines forget that they're Marines.
yeah,
I think that when we're wearing this uniform, when it comes to deltas and it comes to being in a recruiting office, I think it becomes very easy to forget the adapt and overcome mentality because now it's results driven. So now it's like, oh well, I tried. I made the phone calls. It just didn't work out. And I think that it becomes and then you're in an office like you're saying where everyone's lackadaisical, they're calm, they're like they're not really in, they're not acting like Marines no more. So I think, and that's why it sucks on recruiting duty, because a lot of I'm echoing again. So a lot of these RSs, you don't do anything Marine Corps related. You do one ball, and that's it. You do one ball, and I think that worked actually. You do one ball, and you just lose a lot of time because you don't do anything Marine Corps related. It's like, hey, I want you to act like Marines, but we don't do anything that has to do with the Marine Corps. It's like, bro, why doesn't everybody, like, I remember my unit, they said, we don't have any money. They said, we're broke. We have no money. The next month, our sergeant major paid for an $18,000 gym in headquarters when we had one on base that was a 3-minute drive. But you just said we had no money. But you just paid 18 grand for a gym so that you could walk down the hall, even though you already had a full gym on base with a sauna, a pool, CrossFit gym, and everything. And the reason why I bring that up is because that money could have been allocated to Marines going away on a retreat, to Marines going away on something. It's like, bro, you got Marines writing fives. Send that Marine and his wife on a vacation for the weekend, bro. Like, that will literally show the RS. That will show every other Marine, like, yo, this dude got a free vacation for writing five. Sir, I got you. But when a Marine can't even get a NAM for writing fives, not one, but multiple, and again, like you said, we don't do it for the awards. But if there's no rhyme or reason, then other Marines don't want to do it because they don't have your tenacity, they don't have your work ethic, they don't have that hustle. So other Marines are going to say, oh, well, why am I going to do all that for nothing? So what I'm trying to say is that if we have the money, why not have mess nights? Instead of sending 8412s to these illustrious freaking, conferences, like, it's so like, think about how these Marines feel when these 8412s go away to these training conferences. They train for 2 to 3 hours and then spend the rest of the night at the bar and the casino. And then these Marines are back at the office making mission. That makes these Marines feel like shit because they're the ones that are making the mission. They're the ones that are working every single day. And then when they say, hey, can we do something for us? You say, oh, well, funds are tight.
Yeah, no, that's that would always like get on my nerves a little bit. Can you hear me? Okay. Um, yeah, that would always that would irk me. Because I mean, you hit it right on the nail. Like, yeah, I mean, the A412s would go, and it would be like an illustrious like trip. Like, it sounded so like nice. Like when my old 7 he would tell me, he's like, "Yeah, we're going here for the week," and I'm like, "Man, sounds like a freaking vacation," you know. But the fact that you mentioned the send that Marine that wrote a five on a freaking retreat for a weekend. God, I can't even tell you how much morale that would boost. You know how much hours and time goes into a Marine writing 5 contracts in a month? Like, people that don't do it and have never done it won't know. People that wrote three and that was like the most they've ever done and they fucking felt good about it, they know like how much it would have freaking much more would have taken to freaking write a five. And if you could do that for the Marine, I guarantee you that they will freaking, you know, hook you back up on the back end with more contracts, right?
Yeah,
You know,
bro.
the
I
argument,
I
real quick, but the argument might be is like, well, if he misses 2 days, he's not going to be able to catch up from writing the five. He's going to write a zero next month. Like, come on, man. You know the business is 30, 60, 90 days. They got something in the works. Give the Marine the time off, you know?
bro, I had, when I started off at my, I've told this before, but I had that happen. I had these Marines. They were missing missions 7 months straight, and they were working from 04 in the morning until 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. And so when I checked into the office, the first thing I said was, "Hey, listen, if y'all write me a 4, I'll give you a week off." My boy, who never wrote a 4 in his life, ended up writing 6 4s before he EAS'd. And it literally was because as soon as I told him I will give you a week off, I told his wife too. His wife started hounding him. Whenever she would see him on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever, she'd call him. Get off right now. You need to find your 4 so we can go see my family for a week. And it now she had a buy-in. His kids had a buy-in. He had a buy-in. And but at the end of the day, like you just said, with the whole numbers game, that's the reality of it. If this Marine is putting in the time to write, like as I wrote 8 4s. So I know, just like that writing 4 takes that takes so much out of you. Like the amount of people the parents that you got to sit down with, the amount of influencers you got to talk to, the amount of paperwork that you got to go find, the amount of kids that sometimes you almost lost that you got to you got to get them back. Like there's so much work that goes into that 4, that getting that 4, sometimes that 5, that 6. If you said to a Marine, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna give you 4 days off, 5 days off, just a weekend off. I'm gonna give you the weekend off with you and your family," that would change their lives. And the reason why I say that is because I remember when I was on the duty, we used to get these mass emails from district about like family retreats, and everyone in the office would laugh and be like, "Yeah, because the CEO is gonna give me 5 days to go on a retreat in Maryland." Like, yeah, okay. And that's the thing, is that like we talk about these things, but if you really gave these Marines those opportunities, then these Marines would want to do that for you. But when these Marines are working their asses off and they're slaving their asses off, and the whole command is out at Atlantic City for 5 days, and you can't even get a hold of your staff in COIC because he's drunk until 12 a.m., like the reality of it is that, bro, that fucks with the Marines' morale, because they're like, bro, I'm the one out here grinding every single day, and I don't even get a pat on the back. I get an LOA. Whoa, I got a LOA. Whoa, I got a certificate. I got a CERCOM. Ah, and it's like, bro, like I guarantee you, if you told any Marine, "Hey, I'm not going to give you awards. I'm just going to give you time off," the duty would be a light to flip of a switch. Marines would be like, "Wait a minute, you're telling me if I write 2 by the first week of the month, I can have every weekend off?" Like those are conversations that need to be had. Like, hey, listen, if every Marine in the RSS writes 2 by the first week of the month, you're guaranteed weeks off the whole month. Like
Yeah,
some of those things gotta happen.
yeah, and that's with So my buddy actually he took over the station that I came from recently, and from what he's been telling me and from what I'm hearing is he's uh he's definitely incentivized hard work, because the guy that replaced me, the Marine that replaced me, he's doing pretty well. He's starting to build his own wall like I did. Probably never get as big as mine, but he's freaking hustling, which is great. And he's telling me like, hey, like I tell this guy he did this, this, and this. It's not right to keep him there. I tell him go home. The ones that aren't doing their part, stay. You know, like you can only do the argument so long that that Marine is trying to the point where it's like they're not trying. So you got to stay there. You got to do your part. It makes no one else in the office feel good when they're writing their share and you are getting the same time off. You're there with getting the same award with your name etched in it, but you didn't do anything, you know? And it's like, I don't know how you can be okay with doing that, especially because the way I saw it is like if I slip up, if I write a 0, a 1, if I don't do my part and I do as little of what I think I could do, like not as much as I think I can do, I'm screwing these other guys over, you know? Um, and then yeah, it's I don't know, I'm very adamant about the people that don't pull their weight just kind of triggers me. So, yeah.
bro. And that's something like with me, like talking about that is that's the thing is that like something's got to be done, and the problem is nothing gets done. Nothing gets done about those guys that do nothing, right? The and the thing is that we talk about RFC and we talk about getting those Marines out or whatever, and it's like, well, bro, like these do a lot of them. A lot of the reasons why we have these problems in these RSSs is because of the lack of work ethic, and not everyone's gonna have a hustle. Not everyone's gonna have a grind, and that's why I'm always telling people like, listen, bro, you're a damn Marine. If you were out in the Fleet Marine Forces and you were even a Lance Corporal, and there was a Lance Corporal who was not pulling his slack, what would you all do? Y'all would all come up to him and be like, "Hey, motherfucker, we have extra duty because of you." In boot camp, what happened? In in MOS school or whatever, if there was that one Marine who was effing everybody up, like y'all were having conversations with him. Why does that stop on recruiting duty? Like all of a sudden, you're still boys. Like you're boys with the dude in the office who writes zeros every month. Like no, like I'm like, yo, you know what, bro? I'm not gonna speak to you. When I come in the office, I'm not even gonna say good morning to you, bro, because you are literally the reason why I'm not going home to my family. Now, I'm not saying ostracize the person, but at the end of the day, bro, if you're putting in the training, if you're trying to help him out, the staff at CRC is trying to help him out. If everybody's trying to help this dude out, and that's the dude that's keeping you from going home to your family, bro, have a good rest of the day. But that's the other problem with this with the staff and COIC. You're keeping these Marines like my old boss, he would keep us at the office for no reason. It was like, bro, like it's 8:30, 9 o'clock. I already have my two for the month. I've got two going on deck, and you want to keep me here till 11 o'clock at night just because you have no one to go home to. It's like, bro, let these Marines go home, let them recoup, let them come back tomorrow. Like I was talking to a RSCO today who actually reached out to me, found out that he actually, tells his Marines to listen to the podcast. I was blown away by that. I was like, wow, that's sick. And he said it himself. He was like, listen, man, he was like, I really try hard to tell my staff and COICs that if your Marines are in the office past 1930, 2000, there's something wrong with your leadership. There's an issue here. And I'm holding the staff and COIC accountable. And that's a big part of it, is that a lot of times Marines as a whole aren't being held accountable, and that's why we just got to be like, listen, bro, if you're not doing your job, like you're hurting the other person. And listen, if you're listening to this and you're the guy that's less than substandard, listen, I'm not even asking you to be more than substandard. I'm just asking you to be substandard, dog. Like that's all I want from you. Like just be substandard, bro. Like that's it. Just be a polished turd. It's okay. Like and that's the thing about it, man, is that like if you just tried enough and that your Marines in the office would see that because maybe you're not the best, but at least if you're doing everything you can to do your part, that's what we need you to do. But it's effed up. To me, it's so effed up when you see a Marine who does nothing, but then he'll call you his boy. He'll come in the office, he'll dab you up, he'll say, "Yo, what's good, son?" He'll say hi to your family, he'll say hi to your wife, but yet this dude's not writing contracts. And he'll say he's your brother.
Yeah, no, I man, I agree. Because it almost feels like, you're doing his work and it's like, I don't know, it's like it's anticipated. It's just like, oh, I ain't gotta do anything next month because I know it's gonna get done somehow by these guys, you know? And that's the shittiest feeling. Like, when you get that feeling in your stomach when you see someone like taking something that isn't theirs, it's like robbing you of your hard work. That's a crappy feeling. And I get like there's training, there's things in place to help these Marines. But then there's some that are just like just don't care. They just don't care, you know? And it's like, why are you here? You know? We are here. We all have the same mentality. We're all the same wavelength, except you. Can you just try? And day and day and day, there's, like you said, acting like he's your homie and shit. And it's like, dude, Make TCs. Go to your school. Bring something in. OT is not freaking gonna be your contract every month. You know, like, come on, man. Like, I hate to be the person to say, "Hey, man, you know," because I would not want it done to me. I would not want someone to be like, "Hey, if I can do what I did, then you could definitely do what you did, right?" Like, I don't want to be that person. But come on, like you said, be. I want you to be just more than substandard. That's it. It's not that hard. Like, I'm not saying like I'm like the best recruiter ever, right? But if you put me in any AO, I am very confident that I can get one a month and maybe two every once in a while. It's not that hard, you know? So Marines make excuses after excuses, and you try and say, "Hey, man, what about this?" It's like an excuse. And well, how about this? How come you do this? Then an excuse. It's like no one else in this office has excuses. There's freaking five other Marines in here. Why is it always you? You just help, you know?
No, yeah, man, and it's and the thing too is with in regards to that is that when you were talking about the like taking, I'm doing all this work and you're not doing nothing, like, bro, you're getting paid good money to not do nothing, and it's like, bro, and it's like, but the thing is that, like, and the thing that bothers me so much when I see those Marines who refuse to just do their job is that I've seen Marines have strokes on this duty. Like one of my buddy that I talk about all the time, my buddy, this dude had stroke. A week later, I think less than a week later, even with a speech, because he had after the stroke he had an issue with speech. He would be on the phone and he would go. Uh, his mouth would get stuck. He started to have anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and that Marine still pushed forward every single day. Like that Marine sat there with a stress ball and still made phone calls. And now some people are listening to this and they're like, bro, that dude didn't care about his mental health, the Marine Corps, all that. No. That Marine said, I volunteered to come on this duty. I've never quit in my life. The only way I'm leaving this duty is by completing it. And if someone like that can do it, then why can't you? Someone like my boy Arana, who literally has the thickest Mexican accent from freaking LA, who you cannot understand, never wrote a zero. Why? Because when you asked Arana, what are you going to do today? He would say, I'm going to take over the world, Pinky. And the same thing I do every day, Pinky. Like that was his thing. When you asked Arana, why don't you fail? He would say, because sergeants don't fail. Marines don't fail. And that was his mantra. That was his mentality. And that's the thing about it is that I've met so many Marines that your first look at them would be like, bro, you're trash. Like you would think immediately, there's no way this dude could be a good recruiter. And he's out there killing it. And the reason why is that the language barrier didn't matter. The second language didn't matter. None of those things mattered because failing was never an option to them. Failing their family, failing their children, failing themselves, failing the Marine Corps, excuse me. Those were never opportunities for them. It was never in their cards. And that's what I'm trying to say is that, like, do I believe that everyone's skill set is different? Of course. Not everybody can be a Centurion. Do I believe that, AOs play into it? Of course. I'm not saying that. There's a lot of things that play into everything. But I firmly believe with the proper training and the give a fuck attitude, you can write one or two a month. And the reason why we're even on this topic of discussion is because there's Marines out there that suffer because you shouldn't have to write a 5. Like I never understood this till I wrote 8 4s. But my gunny, after my second 4, my gunny was like, bro, you're only writing 4s because the rest of the team is trash. Like And I was like, you're not wrong. Like I shouldn't. No one should have to write a 4, a 5, a 7, an 8. Those things shouldn't exist because everybody in the office should be able to maintain and be able to just work towards one another and work towards a common goal. And I don't know what your thoughts on this are, Gunny, but for me, I think a lot of it is that you have disgruntled Marines that don't believe in the Marine Corps ethos anymore. They come out here, they're jaded. They're, the Marine Corps is not what their recruiter told them, and they've been sold this bag of goods. So now in their head, they don't believe in the Marine Corps anymore. So now it's hard for them to be say a salesman. It's hard for them to be a salesman of the Marine Corps because they no longer believe in the product. What's your thoughts on that?
So, I know we're having a retention issue, but my thing is if you don't believe in the Marine Corps anymore, why are you still in it? You know, are you still in it to collect a paycheck? Are you still in it because you don't think you'll make it in the civilian world, which is most likely the case? Are you still in it because you got like 5, 6 years left until you can retire? Like, why are you still in the Marine Corps? Like, I've heard Marines say they don't believe it anymore. That hurts. That hurts me. Someone that really freaking is grateful about the Marine Corps, because the empire I'm building right now with my family and everything I have is because of the Marine Corps. I am grateful for what this organization has done for me and continues to do for me. And for someone to tell me that they lost faith in it or they don't believe in it anymore, like, what are you seeing in the Marine Corps? Why are you staying in? You know, like the Marine Corps, I mean, you've probably heard this before, the Marine Corps sold itself. You know, it just takes the recruiter, the Marine, to just put the cherry on top, to cap it off. And honestly, that last bit of what it takes to have a kid want to join the Marine Corps is the Marine themselves. They see the commercials, they see the posters, they see what we do, they see the uniforms, and then they see you, the person that's supposed to be the freaking focal point, the the you know um, the freaking pathway to join the Marine. And if that's dead, if that end is dead, or if there's like a fault there, the connection is never going to be made. That person's never going to want to join, and that's why that person sucks. That's why they can't talk to anyone on the phone about it. That's why they can't have an interview properly about the Marine Corps because they don't believe in it. It's like me trying to sell, I don't know, cars, like Priuses. I don't like Priuses, I know it's a dumb example, but it's like, yeah, buy this Prius because it looks cool. Yeah, no, right? Um, so my take in it, honestly, is if you really have lost faith in the Marine Corps and you got histed and you're coming on this duty, you really question if you think you should come out here because you're going to have a very miserable 3 years. And it's not because you can't recruit. It's probably because the other Marines in that office are probably just trying to get through that duty and continue on with their career instead of hearing you complain about how you don't like the Marine Corps anymore and you lost faith in it. Like, come on, man. Life goes on. Why are you here? Why are you in the Marine Corps? Right? And for all the Marines that are grateful for what the Marine Corps has given them, the one that's complaining about it should probably take a step back and look at what it's done for them. Because more than likely that person has a family. Person has if not a family, they probably have a house, a car, you know, and it was all because of the Marine Corps. A lot of Marines, and I know, people watch this, and a lot of Marines really think they're going to get out and make six figures. But let's be honest, how many Marines get out and make six figures? Not very many. You know, the Marine Corps is a freaking secure organization meant to take care of you. Be grateful for it. The Marine Corps is giving you everything you've got to this point. Just give back on the SDA, with drill instructor, recruiter, whatever, MSG, and you will get given back again. It's 3 years compared to the 17 that Marine most likely will serve, you know? And I guarantee you that when you come back from recruiting duty, life will be easier because it doesn't get much worse than that, you know? So that's my take on it. Coming from someone that's passionate about the Marine Corps, that's how I feel, man. I mean, if you don't like it, maybe it's time to hang it up.
Yeah. But I also want to point out though, with that same conversation, a lot of Marines, you know, they become that disgruntled person on the duty because of the hours and because of the hey, I'm working all day, and I'm talking about the real guy out there who's really humping, who's really pushing, and they're like, bro, no matter what I do, I still got to be here till tomorrow, no matter what I do. And I'm gonna be real, that for a long time that was me. Like for a long time, I was like, bro, like no matter what I do, whether I write a four or not, I'm still at the office till 10 or 11 o'clock. But I still continued to push and I still continued to do it. So, for me, the fact of reality was just like I'm gonna be here regardless, so I'm gonna work further and harder. And a lot of people they just see that differently, and then they become lackadaisical, and they're like, oh well, if I'm gonna be here all day, then I might as well just do nothing. And I'm gonna leave here with the same ribbon as that guy. And so I think that it's all really just a lot of it is just you got to do what you can. And listen, if you're at the office for no reason, and this is why people piss me off, if you're at the office for no reason, bro, you as a Marine from the earliest rank of private, you are charged with telling with leadership. If you see something wrong, say something. If you have Marines at the office till 21, 2200. Bro, talk to somebody. Be like, yo, Gunny, with all due respect, I'm going home. Like, I'm not telling you to go UA. I'm not none of that. But I'm just saying, like, as an office, or go to the RI, go to the ARI, go like, especially if y'all are making mission. I think the number one thing that pains me is when I hear about Marines that are making mission and they're still working Saturdays and Sundays. It's like, wait a minute, what are we doing? Like if you're making mission, then why are we still doing this? I get it, the RS is hurting, but at the end of the day, if you're continuing to punish an RSS for the failures of another RSS, then eventually that RSS is going to get burnt out and they're going to fail too. And you got to be able to give that time back to them and to their families. Like, most importantly, that's something that we really don't talk about. And that's just kind of like the last thing I want to talk about, because we've been going for an hour and a half right now. um you know the time that the families lose. Yes, it's, and 100% I agree, it's just hey, it's just 3 years. But bro, that's 3 years of your child's life that you weren't there for because of these working hours. And that's why, if you're a CO, a sergeant major, an RI listening, like, you got to think about that. Like, don't think about the Marine. Think about that son or daughter who's going to lose out on 3 years without their son, without their father, or without their mother. Like, give that time, give those spouses and those children time back. Like, even if it's just one day, even if it's just like, hey, you know what, man, you killed it today, go home. Hey, man, and that's something that the staff and CRIC needs to do. And that's something that I ask, like, another thing too, man, is just that RSCO, man. Like, yo, that RSCO needs to give the power back to the staff NCO. Like, you need to be able to allow a staff NCOIC to run his RSS the way that he needs to run it, so that he can have a good fighting team. Because if you tell all these Marines, hey, you're working till this time, then the that RSS staff and COIC, that station commander, he doesn't even feel like it's his, so he doesn't care about running it, because he doesn't even feel like it's his own home. You got to give the keys to that office to that staff and COIC, to that station commander, and let him run his shit the way he got to run it. And then when he's not running it the way he has to run it, that's when you're like, hey, motherfucker, what are you doing? But you got to give the keys back to the boss. That's my thought process. What's your thoughts on that?
No, so I agree with that. Our so my old CO, the CO that's before I left, he was all about giving that family time. Giving that family time to those Marines. Every holiday that came up, he was very adamant about making sure that if we were where we needed to be, and even some stations that weren't, that we took that time off, because um, I'm a big believer in having time off with family. You can ask my buddies in recruiting duty. My freaking old 7 ICU was a 12. He was a 12 since 2007, and he said I'm the I'm the Marine. He's the Marine. I've taken the most leave on the duty that he's seen ever because I took like over 30 days of leave while I was on recruiting duty. You know, like I I didn't stop taking leave like I normally would on the fleet. The time off is like a reset. Marines need that. Marines need to have that, regenerated feeling in their head, like, okay, all right, oh, let me just keep my mind away from that. You know, Make sure you tell your pulleys because this is some Marines wouldn't even do this. I tell my pulleys when I'm going on leave, kind of like Marines, right? I tell them, hey, I'm gonna be gone from this day to this day. If you need anything, talk to this recruiter. If it's an absolute emergency, contact me directly. You know, and that's how I would play it with them. You still got to take care of them. And yeah, I would take time off. It would be a good, reset, and then I would go back to it. So for any like RSCOs out there coming from someone that did as well as I did, I would say give your Marines the time they deserve. If they're at a 4, a 5, give them a freaking 72. I know like the NAM, whatever. They whatever, they don't need that. Just give them a 72. You know, tell them leave your girlfriend at the office, take a 72, come back, and do that shit again next month. Right? Give the seven SOSCs the power that they should have to run that station. And once they give you a reason not to have that power, then slowly take it back and then give it as needed. This is exactly what I'm doing with my freaking NCOs in my shop. I entrust them a lot. I tell them, my sergeants and corporals, I trust them with a lot because I'm not going to be the gunny that's going to micromanage them. Nope. The moment you guys give me a reason, an excuse that I need to get involved and start taking charge of the shit that I told you to do, I'll do it. And then I'll slowly give it back. You know, we're all grown men and women in this Marine Corps. So we know what we got to do. Give them the time, give them the power they deserve. And if they give you a reason to not get it, then get in there, adjust, and go from there. So that's me. That's how I think about it. We're all grown men. Be mature about it. And yeah. So
All right. So just last thoughts. What advice would you give for anybody that's on their way to BRC, on their way to the duty, mentally, physically? How could they prepare? I know the answer really is, bro, you can't prepare for something like recruiting duty. But what advice do you give them? And then as far as the hustle, the grind, what advice do you have us? What advice do you have for us? And what last imparting wisdom do you want to give us? And then we'll end it there.
it's gonna suck. Now, so the advice I would give to the Marine going to BRC, more than likely, they probably heard that it's gonna be the worst thing ever, that they're gonna not like it. Nah, don't believe that. Yes, it's gonna be an adjustment. Yes, it's gonna be like a deployment, but it is honestly what you make it. So go to BRC, absorb as much of that communication skill knowledge that you can, and go to Marine Corps and just be yourself. Have your sense of humor. Show those people out there that you are human. That Marines can be both human and Marines because they think we're like some killing machines and shit like that. You know, show them that there is a human side to us and that you have a sense of humor, right? And then the Marine Corps, like I said, will sell itself. You just got to be that person in uniform to be the freaking representative of the Marine Corps and and have your sense of humor in it. Don't be monotone. Don't be, you know, uh, just very unappetizing. If that makes sense, have a sense of humor, right? Um, and for the Marines that are out there right now, it will come to an end. When I've checked in as a freaking freshly promoted sergeant, I was like, man, I dropped off a Marine that was freaking leaving the duty. He was done. He finally finished. He's like, yeah, man. Hey, before you know it, it's gonna be done. And I was like 4 months in, and I was like, oh my god, why are you telling me this right now, man? And, and then, frick, it is. I've been in the fleet freaking 6 months. Before you know it, it'll be gone. What I would say is do the most you can while you're there. The recruiting duty is a duty where you can honestly exponentially freaking catapult yourself in your career. It's like a point where you can like spin freaking super fast and come out of it. It's like a wormhole, come out of it in a different part in your career. Honestly, right? The first Navy comm, I got on recruiting duty. All right, two freaking meritorious promotions. I never would have freaking thought. You go back to freaking 2018. Never would have thought that. Right? It is what you make it. I'm not a super stellar MAIT freaking meritorious anything before recruiting duty, Marine. I just busted my ass. So just do that for 3 years and you'll be surprised at what you can get. And that is my freaking 2 cents.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Gunny. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate the wisdom that you imparted upon us. I appreciate the conversation, and most importantly, I just appreciate the reality of it. And that's why, I try to let people know I don't do scripts, I don't do anything like that because, yes, sometimes we may go back and forth. You know what I mean? I have a little bit of issue with that, but the reason why I do it the way I do it is because it's real, raw, uncut. It's the reality of what recruiting duty is. It's the love, the hate of it all. And I think I think that's what makes us good recruiters. I think that's what made us great, Marines. And again, I think the two of us, we believed in and believe in the Marine Corps. We believe in the institution. We believe in the product. And for us, it wasn't selling the Marine Corps. It was just believing in the Marine Corps. If you believe in the Marine Corps and you believe in what you're talking about, people are going to believe in you. Like you said, the BLT, but that's the reality of it. If you truly believe in it, and that's why, the last thing I really want to say is just if you're an RSCO or you're a station commander or an RI, you have to give these Marines the time off because if you don't have time off, you're going to walk around like you have no energy. You haven't seen your kids, you haven't seen your family, you haven't left the office. The last time you left the office, it was nighttime. You go in the office in the morning, it's night, the sun's down. You leave the office, the sun's down. You have to give these Marines the reminder that there is life outside of recruiting duty, and that is going to help them have a better attitude towards life, towards the duty, and in turn, it's going to write them more contracts because people are going to see that you can be a Marine and enjoy life. So, with that being said, thank you so much for coming on, Gunny. I really, truly appreciate your time. And I cannot wait to do another episode with you. This was a great episode, phenomenal content. And thanks again. Have a good rest of the night and enjoy your family. Adios.
All right, man. You too. Thanks.